Ladies and gentlemen, this is Samuel Leggett here representing TeamJVS, here to give you guys another review. This is a documentary review. This film is currently available on Netflix. It's called Descendant. Descendant, the backdrop of it is the descendants of the last slaves reported to be transported from Africa to United States, and how the ship called the Clotilda, the controversy behind it, what really happened, and how these group of Africans that eventually became free, and with the help of Cujo Lewis, who was one of the pivotal descendants that took the people around him, and after becoming free in Mobile, Alabama, they went north and they made a community. That community became Africatown. Now, this is the thing about this documentary. It's so visceral. Like, it feels like it's a progression. Like, I think I haven't felt this level of weight probably since last year's Martin Luther King versus the FBI. Because the thing about that, just using that as an example, there's still things that are still unfolding and unpacking. And if you don't even know the story, like if you went into it completely blind like I did, you will not believe some of the injustice of what's really happening. But I think that as far as the documentary is concerned, the way it's filmed, the way it's shot, the way that they're allowing the perspective to come from the people, it doesn't feel like it's narrative driven. It doesn't feel like, oh, okay, we're trying to paint a picture here. Like they're questioning and asking certain people that conventionally, if you're trying to point a narrative, that wouldn't be the case. Everybody that's a part of Africatown that is willing to talk about it, they're giving them front and face with going on with it. Certain key people, specific descendant, this young man, is literally, he watches over the gravesite of Cujo Lewis, and his parents, his dad, his grandfather passed down the legacy, information, and knowledge to make him understand the value and the weight of why they're here. That in spite of the pain and everything that's going on that they've suffered through, that they're still here in spite of everything that's going on. But then you take another person that is a, I can't remember the terminology, but they take different levels of history and they document it and they archive it. Well, he was kind of talking about, and he was showing, like, and this is all footage they actually showed, which is amazing, of old videotapes of like people in the 80s and in 70s and the 90s going over certain lessons and communications about what house is here, who was there, and just the passing along of real reverent legacy knowledge that you can know. This is the whole point of it. That's why I think this is a very great documentary, is that these people, it's not even so much getting recompense, it's not even so much getting something out of it. It's more so like they stand by the fact that you will not forget this story. This story has to progress and continue. And I think in this medium, regardless of what Margaret Brown is trying to do, who's the one that directed this as a film will cement Africatown and the Clotilda and the descendants. Like, this story will be able to progress and continue because now there's like a gateway. That's one of the things that's beautiful about the internet. It's one of the things beautiful about cinema, especially on the streaming service, or even if you have the physical media, is that it stands the test of time. That irregardless of this being one movie or one documentary talking about this, it will continue and will live through. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things and essence behind this, because they go through so many different things. Like, there was a person that was talking about how around Africatown, specifically around Africatown, the industry people have built up these different things around the town, like these factories and stuff, and the smoke, and a lot of the people, the descendants of these people, are literally becoming sick, cancerous sick. And it's like, it's almost as though someone is trying to fade them out one way or another. Like, yes, this happened. Yes. But again, I haven't told you guys about the real tragedy and the weight behind it, because you're basically saying that illegally, and this is at the point that slavery was abolished at this point, somebody went and took some slaves from Africa, boat them over, and made it look like it never happened, and nobody could prove it happened. But these slaves are just here, and they're working, and then they become free, and nobody is believing the story of what's really happening. Even though when you start to hear some of the interviews or certain things of the people, and I'm not going to bring up, I think it's worth you just watching the descendants of the people that took the actual slaves, and you know how certain things they weren't supposed to talk about. Like that's why I say that the narrative is not, they're not taking the narrative and pointing in one direction. Like they're hitting every single point, down to the people that were looking for this vessel, the Clotilda, the evidence behind, you know, did this really happen and why is it being covered up? Like all those different facets of this. This is a pretty long, this is a lengthy documentary. But if you go from point A to point B towards the end, like you're gonna be like, there's so much rich weight here, and I value it so much because, like, there are, you know, people in my family and history that I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know. Like I would have to go and take a genealogy, like blood test, and I had to go and check. But the thing that's inspiring about this is that even though these people have been shunned and lied to, and their descendants enslaved, and same exact thing, and it's almost like a vicious cycle, because then there's other things in weights and lies and trickery, and people trying to perpetuate that it's not that big of a deal, or, well, that was my family member. Like nobody takes ownership or responsibility of it, because it's a different state. When you say like, okay, well, my descendants came here, you know, less than 100 years ago, and we were enslaved. Like there's no way you'd be able to get around that. So like, I think the thing about this documentary, it goes and has these real conversations about that. Like when certain people, certain families, they kind of meet, they have those real raw conversations, because I think in any other circumstance, any kind of weight, I don't think that they would happen civilly. I think they'd be more so like a lot of weight, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. But one of the things I love about these individuals that are part of, that are living in Africatown is, you know, in Mobile, Alabama, they have so much reverence and strength about them that it's inspiring. It really is, because some of the conversations, like, even they're having with themselves, like, what are we supposed to do about this? What should we do this? We ask reparations about that. Like, should we, like, they're really trying to figure out how to continue not only the legacy of this people, but make sure that no one ever forgets, and make sure every single stone, that if it is still left there, that it is overturned. The visual style, I think, is great, because they take from different different documentation, different archive footage. They take from every different point of view you can think of. They're shooting on location. Some of the aerial shots are beautiful. The underwater things that they do, really fascinating. They use a lot of exposition with a lot of underwater stuff, but they do set up every single person that's being interviewed and talked to very well. They've given them an opportunity to really share the truth of what's really happened here. And by the end of this documentary, you're like, I can never forget this. I can never forget this. And on the top of that, it's still going on. It's still a progressive fight. The last movie that I saw, which was Till, one of the things that hit me and hurt me so bad was that, you know, going all the way back to when that happened, to them making a real raw difference about how this should never happen again, that in 2019 was the last time that they did anything about it. Like that hurt. That made me feel such weight behind it. But I think the progression of how they're handling this with this documentary, I really find it beautiful. If you don't have any time, you know, during the day, spend a weekend, go and just check it out, watch it, research after the fact, figure out who Cujo Lewis is, who certain people, individuals. Like there was a one of the first Black female filmmakers filmed Cujo, filmed some of these people, and also sang like just rich Black history and just this story. But it's not just rich Black history, it's the perseverance, and it's the willingness to overcome and the willingness to band together, not necessarily to even just fight opposition, because there's always opposition around, but to work as one. And I think that flood of strength and love is definitely immersed into this documentary, and I highly recommend you go and check out Descendant on Netflix right now. I'll talk to you guys soon. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. Let me know once you've seen it, because I'd love to talk to you more about it, and we'll talk more. All right? Peace, people.